In Canada, it is estimated that up to 10% of our war veterans, including peacekeeping forces, will go on to experience a chronic condition known as post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Joining me now in studio is Vance McGrath, a local retired warrant officer who served with the Canadian Armed Forces for almost 30 years, including conflicts in Afghanistan and Bosnia. Vance, welcome to Bridge City News.
Thank you.
So how would you describe PTSD and how it impacted you?
Well, I would say PTSD, like post-traumatic stress disorder, is be like an anxiety issue, put it that way. It's something that a person gets from being in a situation that they seem to be deemed upon themselves as a traumatic experience.
Right.
In my case, it was because of the Afghanistan and Bosnia. When I was there, certain things that I've seen and did, kind of against the norm of what we are in Canada, really impacted me, and I brought that home with me.
Can we talk about some of those experiences that you can share with our viewers? Maybe something that particularly really jumps out for you that changed your life? Yeah,
the big thing is what I've seen in some of the places I've been. It's you really can't prepare for it. When you go into we'll call it a war zone for lack of a better term, but when you go into a war zone, you see things, you see death, you see the aftermath of what one human individual can do to another human individual.
Right.
It's really hard to understand in my mind how certain individuals can do that to another group of individuals. And when you see massive bodies, you see bodies that have been in an explosion or a landmine, or a vehicle hit a landmine, and they're missing all their parts. When you see
like fellow soldiers, for instance?
Fellow soldiers, or
Right.
even civilians. Civilians take a lot of the brunt. They're kind of caught in the middle of it all. A good example, one another one is I did a tour in Cambodia. Cambodia, under the Geneva Convention, you have to when you lay mines down, you have to plot your locations. Mm-hmm. They laid millions of mines in Cambodia, never plotted nothing.
Oh, no.
When we were there, so we had no idea where they were. But when you're out on patrol or doing whatever you have to do, you see a lot of children run around. It could be any age but young, but they're all missing legs or arms or severely scarred from, say, explosion or blasts.
They could be out kicking a soccer ball or just playing, right?
It could be anything like that. Where our camp was set up, we had wire fencing set up, and just on the other side of it was a farmer's field, but it was all landmine. He couldn't farm that field because he didn't know what was there, as an example.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's the big thing is you see children, non-combatants that suffer the consequences of the war, and it hits home when you're looking at it and you go, I've got a daughter at home, and it's like, do I want her to go through this? Well, not at all, and so different things like that play on people's minds, eh?
So what are some of the triggers for you with PTSD? Is it sights, smells, sounds?
Yeah, well, for me personally, I can think there's I'm sure if you looked in the textbook definition, there's all kinds of things they can say to set triggers. But each individual, you can't say, well, a smell will be a trigger. Yeah, it could be one of the triggers. For me, it's a certain smell. For me, it's a crowded situation. When I go with the wife to, say, the mall, mm-hmm. I'm okay. But once I get in there, and if it's, say, a Black Friday sale, and all of a sudden it gets packed or shoulder to shoulder, all of a sudden I get real apprehensive.
Really anxious?
Really well, basically, the heart kicks into it, it speeds up.
Sure.
I start to sweat. The next thing I know is I'm starting to look for the exits. And what it is because I'm in a situation that I don't have any control of. So the wife is good about that. She knows it, so she'll take me and we'll leave and we'll go get some fresh air, and she'll get me out of that situation. Another big one for me is smell. Certain smells will bring back memories that maybe I forgot about or haven't thought about in a long time. And I could point to one of those specifically. It was just after my tour in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. We come back, I come home, and I said, I'm back. I want to take my daughter to Disneyland. So, I'm back home and stuff like that. And we were in Disneyland, walking around. We were up at, going by one of the food courts, one of the many ethnic ones. I don't know which one, but there was a certain smell that come across there that hit me. And right away, it was the same thing. Like, I just froze in my tracks. Basically, I went right white. The blood drained from my face. Again, same thing, started sweating and got into a real panicky mood. And my daughter didn't know what was going on, and I said, we got to get out of here now. Like,
So if there were lots of crowds, plus the smell.
There was the crowds.
That's a double whammy for you, isn't it?
And the smell and the crowds. And so I had to get out of there, go someplace, and regain my thoughts, settle down. And I was there for her, and I didn't want to ruin her, her day type of deal, eh?
Of course.
So, of course, and eventually I got under control. We made it back out, but I had to kind of explain to her what happened and, just watch what's going on, so.
And I'm sure she was very understanding with you.
Of course, yeah, so.
Let's talk a bit about that transition from military life into civilian life and how tough it can be at times,
Yeah.
especially when you suffer from
Yeah.
PTSD.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So like I said, I did 28 years. So I joined when I was 18 when I joined up. And so basically right out of high school, I joined the military. So I really didn't have, another job. And I left and joined the military. So that was my job. The things that you do in the military, it's not a normal job. And as a young 18-year-old, you receive specific training. You learn things. You learn tactics. You learn different things. It's not like you're out there, you're I don't know, doing a teller's job at a.
And it's not all textbooks, it's all hands-on learning experience.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I mean,
Yeah.
you got the textbook version of it, so you understand the philosophy of what you're doing, but then you have to actually go out and do those in the field.
What about some of the programs that the government has now that can help you through your PTSD? What are some of the most effective ways of helping you?
The problem I have with the programs, the way it's set up now, I can't talk for people that are in the military now and the treatment that they're receiving and how it works out for them. I've been out for almost 10 years now. All I can talk about my own experience and being here in Lethbridge. There is nothing. They told me there's really nobody here that can that's qualified, if that's the right word, to deal with the issues that I have.
Wow.
I've seen psychiatrists, I've seen psychologists, I've seen cognitive behavioral therapists. That was here in Lethbridge. That was set up on my own through my doctor. That was not done through the military. I contacted the military side of it through Veterans Affairs, asking questions about it. They said they have nothing down in Lethbridge.
You'd have to go to Calgary, maybe?
They said possibly looking at coming to Edmonton.
Edmonton?
Yeah.
That's 5 hours away.
I
a
realize.
5-hour drive.
Yeah.
So for veterans who don't have programs and access to those programs, do they turn to alcohol?
Well,
I mean, I hate to say it, but
it's true though. It's true. The problem we have is, or one of the problems I see, is when somebody wants help. If I call in or somebody else calls in to say make an appointment, say listen, I'm having problems, they say there's a 24-hour support line you can call in anytime. All right, but that's just call in. That's just getting whatever's off your chest now. But if you need to come in for therapy or you want to come in for counseling, you could be looking at 2 to 3 months before you can even get in to see somebody.
there's that much of a backlog.
There is, and that's just my experience. Somebody might say, well, I got in a week. That's fine, that's good for you. But under my experiences, that's what's been going on with me. And
So we need help here in Lethbridge. I mean, we have around 2,000 veterans here, and some of those veterans must also be suffering from PTSD.
I'm sure there is.
So we need help?
We do. We have the Legion. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Legion can and will step in on your behalf, but it follows on the politics side of it. I mean, they can only do so much, like when they're talking, If they make the phone calls for you, they can only do so much, however they receive on the other end.
Right.
So if the other end is a delay or there's a backlog, they're not pushing that agenda through for you. So you're still on the backlog. I belong to, I don't know if I should say it or not, but I belong to a Commandos MC group. That's a Special Forces group. We're all over Canada, but we're through Alberta too. We have a lot of military members in that. Might not know them all, but we all share a similar background.
So you could support each other?
So we support
uplift
each other. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So we have, we do what we call buddy checks. Every now and then I'll make a few phone calls to some guys I know. Okay, they might be having a rough time. I'll just give them a call, say, how's it going?
Almost like an accountability partner.
Yeah.
Having somebody there to support you.
Yeah,
and help you.
and that's just our way of, because I realize that the system is somewhat flawed, and for, he might be in between, say, we can get you in, but your next one might not be for a month. So in between that, what does he do? And so we want to be there for you, and we want him to know, or the other individual to know, that there's always somebody there. You're not alone in this, and we have quite a few. Actually, just on a personal note, just last weekend, we had a guy that was ready to commit suicide. He was going to shoot himself, and we found out, we got a hold of him, we talked him out of that. So now we're dealing with him and trying to bring him along.
When you come across a situation like that, Vance, where somebody feels there's no other way to turn but to take a gun to themselves or to end their own life, how do you approach that situation with that person? What do you say to that person?
Well, there's not really a lot that we have to say. The big thing is we call them up, or we approach them, and we can say, listen, I understand what you're going through.
Because you've been through it yourself.
I've been there. We have others that have been there. It may not be the same situation, but I'm dealing with it myself. And the big thing is let them know that they're not alone. That we are there to listen. Like, you don't even have to talk. Want to go out? Just go to Tim Hortons, have a coffee. We'll go for a coffee. Just sit there, just to have the company. Like, if you want to talk, fine. If you don't want to talk, that's fine. But I am there. And I will be there as long as it needs to be till you can get through that phase of your life.
What kind of an impact does post-traumatic stress disorder have on relationships? Let's talk a bit about that.
It can be very strenuous. From personal experience and from people I know, a lot of marriages have gone down the tube. The big thing I find with that, and the same thing with me when I come back, is you come back, you're kind of a changed person. You're not the person you are when you left. And so after 6 or 7, 8 months, when you come back, you have a different personality. So you could be more irritable. You could be, say, less loving.
Maybe a shorter fuse, quicker temper?
Oh, definitely,
Yeah.
quicker temper.
Yeah.
You could say, I don't care about nothing. You're just going to lay on the couch, or because you just gave up on the world.
So depression sinks in.
Yeah, depression. There we go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So depression, even anxiety. And if you don't have a strong spouse to help you through this, and especially, but the spouse has to understand not so much what you're going through, but has to be able to understand and kind of ride the boat with you and say, okay, listen, you're being irritable, or you're being like my wife, as an example. Like, we're in the mall. When I start getting to my anxiety attacks and this other stuff, she recognizes it, and okay, let's go, and she
sees the symptoms.
She does.
And removes you from the
and
situation.
she takes me out of that situation. So she's very strong-willed.
It's beautiful.
And she looks after me, and then, but we talk, and she understands. She doesn't understand, and I don't think we've got into depth yet of what I've experienced, but she understands of what I've been through and where I've been.
But that's a strong woman that could do that for you.
Yeah, and you have to have that. And a lot of the problems I see happening is you have spouses that can't deal with the changes. They don't. I don't want to say they don't want to work through it, but they don't want to spend the time and work through it to keep that relationship going and help the individual out in his time of need. And so what happens there is you have a guy come back, he's having a rough go of it. Now he's having family issues. So if the wife packs up the kids and leaves, so now you got an individual that's suffering from PTSD. He just lost his family. Odds are pretty good he's not working yet. So now, what does he turn to? Well, he turns to alcohol, he turns to drugs, or he looks at another way of relieving the pain.
Right.
So, yeah.
Where do you think things will go in the next 10 years when it comes to veterans suffering from PTSD? And what programs are needed from the federal government to help our veterans?
I think the big thing is they need to early recognition of the problem, and it's hard to do. Like, it's hard to recognize and bring forth the symptoms and stuff of PTSD, because a lot of individuals that are suffering from it don't seek help. You know, some like for me, for years, I didn't think I had a problem. I thought I was just in a transition phase, coming back from an area of conflict, coming home. So now, okay, I'm just transitioning back into a different lifestyle. It'll go away. The feeling will go away. The truth is, it doesn't. So it would be nice if you could see quicker responses to individuals that require help. More, like we talked about the wait times. So let's if we're having problems with the wait times,
Let's
then
address it.
maybe-
Address it.
Yeah, address it.
Yeah.
And so if there is a problem, then let's look at, maybe we need to bring in a couple more counselors. We have to work something out, or what can we do? What can we do to help, vets, but it's other than vets that have PTSD. But what can we do for vets that are returning, that we can get them into counseling now so that they don't lose their family, they don't turn to drugs and alcohol, they don't get kicked out of the military because of it, they don't have the thoughts of suicide, and so a lot more, I think, has to be brought forward as awareness to help that situation.
Vance McGrath, local retired Canadian Forces veteran, thanks so much for sharing about your experiences with PTSD and joining us in studio today.
Thank you.